now. Okay, so we're recording. This is our Special Ed Technology Center AT chatter on AAC implementation. And the goal of these chatters is really just a casual conversation for people who are out there in the field and have questions about AAC implementation, or if you have things that you want to share, we would really love to hear that, whatever it is. So I'm going to share my desktop and let me pull it up real quick. Okay, I'll share my desktop and we can look at some questions. Oh, sorry, all of a sudden it looks different. Okay. All right, so hopefully you can see my desktop here. And my reminder that I have an AT chatter. Okay, so we have a few questions. What are your favorite activities to do with your students who are using AAC? How do you incorporate AAC in literacy and activities? And this is something Brenda and I were just talking about because we're gonna have a book study coming up we'll tell you about. What are some of your challenges? How do you get buy-in? How do you make AAC seen throughout the day? And then any other questions you have, or if you just have a question about problem solving, implementation, you can do that here as well. So Brenda, if you don't mind, I'll have you check the chat and I will take notes on our document.
Yeah, will you just enter something and make sure that I'm seeing it right? My screen changed when you went full screen, so just type something in there, make sure that I'm seeing it.
Yes, actually I can pull up the chat too. Okay.
I'm seeing it. So you can close that, and I've got it. Okay.
Okay, great. All right. So again, welcome to everyone. Thanks for joining us. I think it's really fun to have these chatters so we can share ideas because there's just so much good stuff happening out there. I'll just share, if it's okay, one thing that someone mentioned is that they've just started, or that they've had a full core board in one of their classrooms. And do you want to share about this? Or I can do it. She's just sharing that she has a core board in her classroom with the pull off and the strip on top. And the teacher's doing it all. She can go in and see the kids using it and it's really working. So that was kind of a cool success to start with.
That's awesome.
It's so awesome. Is anybody else doing that in their classes or starting to think about those large core boards? We did talk about core vocabulary in our last AT chatter, which we have recorded. So if you're interested in hearing from a few perspectives, Bellevue School District shared about what they're doing in a few of their classes.
And then I did a Tuesday tip. So on Facebook, every Tuesday morning, there's a little AAC tip. And I did a Tuesday tip on how to grab the pre-made boards from PRC. So that could be Word Power, it could be Unity, or it could be LAMP, and how you throw it on a Vistaprint sign that is durable for outdoors. And it's one of the cheapest ways to implement AAC into your playground. And so that was something that came up in the last chatter. So I just did a quick Tuesday tip on how to actually do that, how to grab a pre-made board from PRC, throw it into a sign, literally I don't know, $35 or something. And it's stakes that go into the ground. So, and it's made out of a material that's pretty durable. I mean, anything is breakable, but at some point, but yeah, so I did a Tuesday tip on implementing AAC into the playground situation. One of the comments is that the core boards have been the toughest things in terms of staff buy-in for me. And I think one of the things that came out of the last chatter was The buy-in really is one of those things where you have to have a few early adopters who are going in and modeling it. So it may mean that you change your service delivery model for short periods of time or once a month, so that you are doing you were doing a modeling of how that happens. And if your teacher does smart boards, then what does it look like on a smart board? If your teacher is better with ripoff, how does that look with your kids, and how are you adapting that for your alternative access kids and things like that? Because there's a lot to think about, and as speech language pathologists, so much of it can come naturally to us that until we actually model how to use that in a setting, or co-teach. So they're doing a thing on polar bears, so you're going to and polar bears, by the way, is never on the core board, right? I'm just giving an example of, like, the teachers sometimes will think, well, I'm doing it on this topic and none of those words are on there. I'm doing it on science and eruption's not on there. And so then you're taking their topic that seems like the vocabulary isn't on there, and you're showing how you would say, up for explosion, or how you would say, what you would say on for, or what do polar bears eat? You might point to eat, and then we say, oh, we've researched that, and this is right. So you're just showing the core words related to something that seems like it's a primarily fringe vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
Brenda, can I ask a question? This is Chris. Where's that? Do I just go Facebook, and then what do I put on there? Like AAC?
To find Tuesday tips?
Yes.
You just go Facebook and click videos.
Oh, okay.
They're all on there.
And then you can also go to our website and our YouTube channel. So
if you look on, she's showing you here.
If you go to our website, which looks a little different right now, at the bottom, there's a link to our Facebook page and our YouTube channel, and they're on both of those.
Okay, thank you. I will do that.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
A lot of them are AAC related.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with most of them are AAC based. So if that's
okay. Versus versus like the core vocabulary.
Well, no, core vocabulary is AAC as well.
Right.
So I don't know if there's a Tuesday tip on core. It's mostly on technology pieces, little tips and traits.
Okay. Got it.
Sorry, I had to stop my sharing because I couldn't get back to my chatter, but does it help to see our notes? You want me to keep sharing? Okay, I'm seeing a head nod. Let me go back. It's just that my Zoom thing is right over it and I couldn't share it. Here we go.
I had that same issue. That's why I couldn't flip the chat, is because my Zoom was right over that chat bar.
Yeah, and I couldn't move it. Okay, so that reminded me, Brenda, when you were talking about co-teaching, I've had a few teachers like totally get buy-in for the core board, when we mapped out the sight words that are on the core and what they're teaching already. And so it was nice, like your example of using their topics, doing what they're already doing. The sight words was another really good way to do that because there are so many on the core board already.
And it's typically something that it's an IEP goal. It's something that they're trying to measure. It's something that they're trying to fit into that day, is making sure that they're addressing sight words. So if you are addressing the goals that the teachers have, then typically we have an increased buy-in. But you know what? I would say too, pick a pilot classroom. Pick somebody who's actually going to do it, and do a few, and maybe even have some people videotape that. And I think going out and trying to get all of the teachers or all of second grade or I think that's a lot. I think you find a target, you find your people, you do a small one, and you problem solve through. And then there's a little bit of word of mouth that happens around the cooler as well on, no, she came in, actually, she was really open. No, we made it work, and it was, it's working well. And It's
Mhm.
actually killing a lot of birds with one stone. And, you know, we're doing a lot of different things in one activity, which is helpful. Like, you know, then there's a little bit more, that's another buy-in piece is
Mhm.
don't bite off too much on that classroom implementation stuff.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And even starting small within that classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're just going to start using it for this for now, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what I did. I started with I was sharing earlier with, it's called a PLP room, but it's like the personalized learning program for kids from kindergarten to 5th grade. So, and all the kids that are, I mean, we've got nonverbal, autism, Downs, I mean, the wide range of kids. And we took, so I can kind of show you. So we took the basic core words. So I have, everybody wears mine's broken, but one of these in their little lanyard. So we're trying to point to a lot more as we go along, but I enlarged this and did just what you said. So it's I, and then there's like, you know, back in the day when it was like the folk sentence builder. So you take it off and then they're building sentences as they go along. So even our verbal kids that are readers
Right.
are benefiting from that. And the same thing, I started with that teacher, and now, like I was sharing before, we do a cooking class every Wednesday. I just go back and I support now the kids that are using TouchChat or Palopo 2 to go. I mean, I'm supporting them, and she's leading the lesson with core.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been beneficial where now the preschool wants to also start setting that up, which would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Start there and then, you know, carry over to K to 5.
Definitely.
But I love the core words. I just need to go up. So I have like the basic 56. So I need the next, isn't there like a next group? I know you have all the fringe words, but isn't there like another group after that, 56?
Which one are you using, Chris? Sorry, my video.
I got it from, can I just show you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see. When I'm sharing, I can't see all the video. I don't know why.
Oh.
Oops.
So when I hold it up to the screen, you can't see
Okay,
it?
now I can. Okay, I just stopped sharing for a minute, I think.
So that's one side. That's the other side.
Okay.
You know, it matches pretty well. We use a lot of TouchChat here. This is the other one.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's like another set, but I don't know. I need to go looking for that.
Okay. Okay. So you, okay, I think I'm still sharing. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I think, are you using the Saltillo, these ones? Like, I'm just going to look it up because I'm curious.
Okay.
Like, is it from here where you can print them out from there?
Yes, I got them from, you know, one of our AT meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Issaquah, it was on OneNote. So I've kind of gotten them from there.
Okay. So, yeah, because they have.
Those are the same, yes.
Yeah. So I think they have them all the way up to 108.
Okay.
60 basic. They have 108 for the flipboard, so you could just use the.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like the big difference between the 60 and the 108 though is it includes the alphabet. So what you could do is begin talking about you know, first letter and categories and some of those strategies. So it could be more applicable to fringe vocabulary, but it pulls in the literacy components because you're doing, you know, panda starts with P and, you know, volcano starts with V. And so the other thing you could do is stick with the core board you have and introduce an alphabet board.
I could do that with some.
That's a good idea. So Brenda, sorry.
You know, I think that there's a lot of discussion over whether or not it should be alphabet ABC or if it should be QWERTY order, because if you're going to be AAC dependent, then should we do QWERTY order alphabet boards? Because any alphabet board is really an arbitrary order, right? I mean, kids know the song but even in the latest comprehensive literacy for all with the Erickson Copenhagen thing, she talks about how ABC order is not really research-based, but creating a motor plan for a QWERTY layout is. So, you know, if you're going to introduce it, to consider, do you know what I'm saying with QWERTY? Like the layout that it looks like on a keyboard? Yeah, so that's an idea, is to start drawing attention to, and naturally, this is part of these strategies for emergent literacy and AAC, is just like, as you're doing your core thing, saying, oh, that's a panda, panda, and you're pointing out the P on the other board, right? And you're not necessarily testing letter sound correspondence at this stage, but you're definitely incorporating some of those pre-literacy skills.
Got it.
So, Brenda, do you want to talk about that book that you're referencing? And
yes, I mean, so I don't know. Are you part of the closed Facebook page on that, Sari?
No.
Okay.
I
so it's called, I have it right here. It's called Comprehensive Literacy for All, Teaching Students with Significant Disabilities to Read and Write. So they do address alternative access in a lot of pieces. We're actually going to do a SETSI book study on this for all of the school year next year. So it's something to consider picking up, because we are going to base a lot of, it's not like none of it's a brand new idea. It's just kind of pulls a lot that we know together. And that's what's been amazing for me. But when the book came out, they started a closed Facebook page, and it was like, yeah, you know, it's just a self-paced read, but you know, you can check it out. There's over 1,000 people on it now. And it's really taken off because it's just a simple way to look at implementing AAC into the reading and writing components, which is why it's kind of on my brain. Sorry, was there more to that question?
No, I was just going to say that we're going to start, like you said, we're going to start a book study in the fall.
Yeah. And we're going to be pulling some of this stuff together, the AAC reading and writing components together. So it's on the brain for sure.
Does anybody feel like that would be something they might want to do? Just out of curiosity, and we might.
I'd probably be interested.
Okay. Good. We're still brainstorming, so we can always pick your brain for ideas and how it can look. But what else are people doing? Let's go to this literacy idea. What else are people doing for AAC implementation with literacy? Or what do you wish you were doing?
I mean, so I also support the preschool here, and so for some of my little kids, I have they're on Touch Chat on the Proloquo too. So oftentimes I am modeling with the AAC device Touch Chat. Might be doing Peekaboo Barn. So I might have an iPad with the Peekaboo Barn, and they have to listen. You know, they have to hear the sound or see the animal or hear what the sound the animal's making. So I might have Peekaboo Barn. I might be modeling with them. You know, I hear a, then there's a question. Then they're responding with I hear, and they might say turkey, or, you know, and then when they touch the little door, it opens up, and then they're using their Touch Chat saying, or their device saying, you know, I see a turkey or I see a pig. That's fun. I do a lot of the early literacy books, again, with the Touch Chat.
Yeah.
And just modeling, and even if they're on a different device, you know, I think that's really fun. So I do a lot of the Brown Bear.
The early books.
The early books, yes.
That's for attainment. And that part, I think attainment made the book that goes along with that. And then the word power piece.
Yes.
And Touch Chat. And if you have, even if they have like an accent, and they're using Unity, if they have word power added to it, they would have access to those pages as well. So yeah, that is a super fun way to get preschool kids involved in seeing how they can help you read a book and creating consistent motor plans to some of the core pieces of those things.
Chris, are you using the Tell Me AAC for the preschool program, or are you kind of just using the books as they fit in for you?
I'm just like, I run 2 groups, one in the morning, one in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
So I just take in whatever I'm kind of focused on for that week.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to we have a lot of nonverbal kids right now in the preschool program, which I think is, I don't want to say fun, but it's, a couple of them have their own devices. So that's great. So I am just trying to incorporate all the different modes of communication so they don't see it as something different. So we have switches, the little talking bricks, that's my turn, turn the page. We do a hello one. There's a Big Mac in there for some sequencing stuff. And then I'm trying to model using, like I'm using TouchChat just so that they kind of get the idea that there's other ways to communicate. A lot of kids with pretty significant apraxia, so their intelligibility is so decreased that this is help aid them. And then they're imitating what they hear on the iPad, which is so cool.
Mm-hmm. That is cool.
On their little carrying case. So I don't have any like set program. I'm just kind of really flying by the seat of my pants.
That does sound fun.
Sounds familiar. How are you handling kids with alternative access?
Be more specific.
So they can't use their pointer finger.
So right now I've got one little guy in a wheelchair. He's got a phenomenal pointer. My other little guy who's nonverbal has a phenomenal pointer. I've got one little person I'm trying to kind of work a little bit more on eye gaze, which is really hard. I've got one little person that, trying to think of all the different kids that are in there. I had one person we had a head switch on their wheelchair. They're no longer here.
I wonder if having a low-tech eye gaze board, since you have a lot of your PEC system, you have a lot of your core word as a ripoff already, that you could just create a low-tech eye gaze board pretty easily.
Yeah, and I have that in there. So we have a couple kids in there with PECs. I mean, I love all the great stuff, but I'm a firm believer on low tech and where to start. So we have the pictures in there. I take my core words. This week it's go, but we take like one of these.
Yeah.
So everybody has that on their lanyard, and then we put it in the classroom somewhere and try to, use that. With regards to modeling, using them for, we've had go, we've had come. I started last year trying to go alphabet, like start with A, all done, and B, I think B was by, C was come. I didn't make it very far. So now I'm just kind of jumping in with a lot more words per week. So last week was go. So I do have those core words in the classroom. There's a go right by the outside door so they can point to that. And they go outside. So I'm trying that.
Yeah, I think Practical AAC has some nice year of core words that can sequence out some things too. And they have year 1 and year 2 and year 3. Okay. And I noticed that a couple classrooms here using that. Some classrooms are on year 1 and some classrooms are on year 2, but it's not alphabetical order, but there's a method to the madness. And because they're core words, if you are, I did this as well in treatment. I did year 1 and year 2 for my ongoing kids. And no matter what we were doing, it was pretty easy. Like, okay, it's Thanksgiving and I want to do my Thanksgiving book. And because it's core words, it's like, oh, look at that. Yep, I can find a use for that core word. So you can still make things seasonal and fun and impromptu, and oh, it's so-and-so's birthday, so we're doing things on birthdays, but my core word is come, so we're going to have her come over here to, right, like you it's easy to implement, but there seems like there's some structure.
Okay.
So I use I think I found the year of core words on Practical AAC. Is that right, Sari?
Yeah, it is. I'll put a link to it in our notes too.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that would be great.
I feel like it helps the chaos, Chris, because we can. I mean, you can just look and go, I haven't done this core word, and grab it. But what I liked about that is that, like, there's structure to it. You can still cross out the ones you're not going to cover in November, or cross out the ones you didn't get to, but now you know, like, you have some potential data, you know?
Right.
And, you know, if you get to the end of the year and somebody has 20 new words, that's significant.
Correct.
But I feel like your kids are going to have 20 new words at the end, and sometimes it's like, I don't remember all the ones, or I don't know how I kept all that. So I feel like that it helped me structure things.
Okay.
To do it that way.
Thank you. I will do that today.
I put the link down here. I kind of started a core section after.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything that they want to share about, Chris, by the way, you are so organized. I love how you can just say, oh, and I have this, and you know exactly where to go.
I don't know about that.
Very impressive. Anyone want to share anything else about core, or possibly go back to the idea of alternative access? Because I know that can be a tricky thing for us to model and to implement in classes. Questions or how you're doing it?
Do any of you have kids with severe visual limitations where the low-tech IGOs board really would meet your need?
I do right now.
And how are you doing AAC with a low vision?
Well, we think she has low vision. Making the pictures a lot larger, putting them on a contrast of a background. I think it was blue or yellow or a black. I'm taking her right now into the we call it a sensory room, turning off the lights, and then I have some different type of switches I'm trying with her. So she's working on a little bit more of just cause effect, that are one's like a disco ball, and the other one is like the fiber optics kind of a glow stick thing that I'm using with her. I don't think she's really seen any of my pictures.
So I wonder if something like an auditory preview, where it's like, I'm gonna establish a yes and a no. Maybe that's going to be moving, you know, a movement, and then establishing a auditory preview. So it's like, do you want? So we're going to do disco ball, or we're going to do the water speakers, or whatever. And then you're like, disco ball, yes or no. Water speakers, yes or no, right? And so once you can kind of see if she would be receptive to, you know, two-step scanning with auditory preview, which is like, you know, the end game if you're completely not visually impaired.
Right.
Yeah, but I feel like we can simulate that low tech wise at the preschool level. I think it's a little bit harder if you have an older kid who hasn't really been exposed to all that, because there's some groundwork in having them show you what will your selection look like in your body. I mean, if they're just have low vision and they're ambulatory, sometimes that's a lot easier. But
right.
Other times it's like, figuring out how you are going to confirm a choice is kind of where you start, you know. So it's nice to take her in that sensory room and go, okay, I think she likes this, so if she picked it, it would be reliable, you know, like she's smiling when this is coming up. So that kind of thing. So one of the comments in the chat says that I have a student that's visually impaired, and I have been in contact with the DSHS to get an eye gaze and mount for the student who is about to graduate from high school. He randomly hits the button switches, but is able to direct select large icons, and Sari's observed with him. Does that ring a bell, Sari?
Oh, I have to see who I'm. I'll check the chat.
Okay.
A few kids I can, yeah. Was there a question with it? Sorry, or is this
There is not a question. It's just I had asked the question, posed the question: is there anyone with visual impairments, and how are you handling that? And
oh yeah,
it sounds like her response is that he was pretty random with switches, but a little bit better with large icons. I think the problem with large icons is limited vocabulary or tons of navigation. But you got to start somewhere.
Right, and I do remember now who the student is, and it seemed okay. Yeah, you're saying it was seeming more random with the switches and hard to determine, and maybe wasn't quite getting that yet. But that's interesting. Direct selecting with the large icons. Yeah, and then like you said, the modeling part can be hard, but we'll have to chat more later. Follow up on that. Let me go back to my notes. I just had a thought when you were talking about the yes, no. Oh, I don't remember. Back to the low vision. With the auditory preview, Brenda, what do you, like with your examples with the objects and, oh, I know what I was thinking. You were talking about like, well, maybe when that sensory room, she smiles, when you are presenting that water speaker, and you're kind of getting an idea of maybe some preferred activity you can use. It kind of reminds me of, you know, there's a lot of ways to like look for those, but have you guys heard of the Every Move Counts, Clicks, Chats program? It's older, it's been around for a while. But one of the things I love in there is the sensory assessment. I think it's called sensory assessment. And I like it because it's really like a structured way to look at those things. Because, you know, we can look at a student and say like, yeah, like, I think you like this. I can see you smiling, and we kind of have an idea. But then you might go away and someone else says they saw this and you're like, oh, wow. So this is a nice way to like put it all together. And it's like very structured. You present something. What are they doing before you present it? You know, maybe they're just flat and affect. What do you do when you present it? Like bells or something or music. And then when you stop, what are they doing? And so it's really like a good way to look at sometimes when there's very, you know, maybe also a student who doesn't have a lot of movement and you're really trying to hone in on what changes are you seeing and how are they communicating. I really love that way. And then you could document it kind of nicely with whoever is doing it with you over time. Has anyone used that before?
I haven't used the tool, but I know that, you know, with low vision, a lot of things that are motivating tend to be in the realm of OT. So having a document that everyone is chiming in on, so, you know, you're not seeing what's making their face light up because it's actually happening during joint compression time at OT, right? Or it's actually happening when there's a sensory experience and with a different discipline. And so I like the idea of having kind of a running document where people are noting things. And so maybe items that you don't have at your disposal are being trialed and getting a lot of miles with, you know, is something to think about. Oh, I want to use that particular motivator to teach yes in some way so that you can indicate that. So I like that idea of other disciplines being able to chime in, because I think when we're deficit in a major sensory area, you know, their sensory strength is often where you're going to see their likes and their preferences.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we used it for one student, we had like those pages printed out, and then it also has like really nice like implementation ideas where you can say, here's what our goal is right now, here's how we're doing it, and put it in the binder. And so then whoever was working with them could see what had been done and what was tried. And because every day might look a little different, it was a nice way to kind of like keep everybody aware of what's going on when you only have a certain amount of time with kids sometimes.
How would somebody access that?
So we have a copy. I'm just putting in our AT Chatter the link to their website. You could buy the book, and I really think it's worth it because of all the forms you can get that go with it. It is a program that you could take as a workshop, but they're not here. But we have 2 copies of that book in our lending library. So I will put a note on here too that actually, I better share my screen again, and I'll just show you, in case you haven't done it on our new website, what you would do. Okay. So hopefully you can see my screen. Mm-hmm. If here's Every Move Counts, clicks and chats. They're coming out with a family version too. And it's awesome. It sort of reminds me of like communication matrix, if you're familiar with that for assessment. You could purchase their book here, but if you go to our website, just because it looks a little different right now, if you go to the lending library, we now have, well, we can talk about the switch kits, but it says already know what you want, request an item here. So when you click on that, it takes you to this lending library request form. You just fill it out with your information, and then down here you can just put, you know, Every Move Counts book or whatever device you want. But Brenda, do you want to, since we're talking about some alternative access, do you want to talk about the switch kits?
Yeah, so switch kits, and it's really alternative access kits because there is a low-tech IGAS board in the back there and some things. So basically,
can you guys see that?
Basically, you can check out this kit, and you're going to get a step-by-step and single message buttons, jelly bean buttons, adapted toys with variety of sensory. So there's a bubble machine and fiber optics. Those speakers actually have dancing colors for when you're connected to music. And so you can lower the lights and see if they locate those things. That unicorn is actually a vibrating toy. Sometimes switch access is most effective for our lower vision kids when they feel the cause and effect of that switch. There's also going to be an iPad and a Bluetooth interface so that they can, you know, hit the switch to turn the page on a Pete the Cat app or whatever we have on their iPad. So you can figure out what switch might be the best, and you can do that with some pretty highly motivating items there. So you can just, instead of going through and having to know all the things you want to try out, you can just check out the kit and you get the whole bin with everything in it. And it makes, you know, it easier to trial a variety of situations. I think there's a battery interrupter in there too. So if you have your own favorite toy, you can throw the interrupter in there and see if they are willing to hit the switch to make that go. So I think it's great because you can work through a lot of problem solving in a short period of time with all the tools in front of you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's got a proximity switch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they have really limited movement, maybe SMA or spinal muscle atrophy or significant seizures that have left them where they're really not moving much. That proximity switch is that kind of yellow triangle one.
Oh, sorry.
It's minimal movement. No, that's right.
I'm just trying to get access to my page as it's underneath. Okay, there it is. Yeah, so those are that's a really cool new thing.
We have 4 of them, and like instantly all 4 of them went out, so we might be making more.
Oh, good news. I'm just going to pause for a minute to see if we have any questions or comments.
How long can you check things out for again? I can't remember. It's been a while. Like 90 days or?
It's 4 weeks, and
4
then
weeks? Oh, 4 weeks. Okay.
yeah, depending on what it is, if if we don't have a long waiting list, we don't have waiting list for something, you can always ask to keep it longer. Sometimes we can. Brenda, I wondered if you might share about storytelling and how maybe just storytelling in general with the AAC, but then also your alternative access, maybe like that story you were telling us about.
Sure. So I think it was last week's webinar is on storytelling in AAC. That's one thing that I like to do with even as young as 4. I introduced like who, when, where, and how, feel, and then a what. So basically who leads to options if it's a boy or a girl, when leads to daytime and nighttime, where can be inside and outside, and then I always have some kind of open-ended yes, no, I don't know kind of vocabulary, but basically you can have about 10 words, and they're all most of them are French, but you get to a storytelling component to this. So I say once upon a time there was a, and then they can pick boy, girl, or animal. And then I say, wait a minute, once upon a time, when? Is it daytime or is it nighttime? Because if we get to the end of a school year and we have new words, I don't care if they have Tuesday, but I would love for them to tell me if it was daytime or nighttime, because that becomes a really important key thing when they're retelling a personal narrative. So I'm picking vocabulary that would help a person become a reliable reporter, where they can say, this is what happened. I was playing with a girl, it was daytime, and we were outside. You know what? I should check with the babysitter and see what happened with that. So these are questions that, but in the beginning when I'm working on it, it's all made up. And so there's no wrong answers. And they love it. Kids that have their eyes closed and don't do a lot of participation throughout the day, they are wide awake from me for 45 minutes. So once upon a time there was a who, and then when, and then where are they? Are they inside? Are they outside? Sometimes it's inside, outside, home, and school, since those are really familiar vocabulary for our kids. And then maybe I'll say, how do they feel? And I might have happy, sad, or happy, sick, scared, something that helps me guide what happens in their story. So then I wonder what made them happy, and I might give them 3 choices of what made them happy, or I wonder what body parts are owies if they're sick, right? Do they have a tummy ache or do they have a headache? And again, all of that becomes vocabulary that, even though it's fringe, it's really, really critical vocabulary for retelling a personal narrative as we move through the process. And what's been magical about this, about storytelling with AAC, is how typical our kids are, in that they talk about what they know. A lot of times when I'm working with a boy and I say, once upon a time there was a, they're going to pick a boy like a huge part of the time. And I go the literacy route too. I'll say, oh, what's the boy's name? And I'll give them letters, and then maybe they pick a letter, and I say, oh, you pick D. Okay, is it David, Daniel, or something else? Like, I'll add literacy pieces when I can. And even for those with visual impairments, on GoTalk on the iPad, you get 5 free slides. So you can set up a couple of these with auditory preview. And then I have some that, with their step scanning, they're listening to the sounds, and they'll pick a letter. And even if they have low vision and they're not going to be using a keyboard to spell, it's still a communication breakdown strategy to tell me what it starts with. And so it's been super fun. And what's been magical is that after doing made up stories, which I do write down, they end up telling you a real story. They end up telling you, like, you'll relay it to mom and it'll be like, oh my gosh, that happened. No, this is what happened. And that's really typical preschoolers when they're making up stories. There's a lot of true components in it. And or there's favorite things, right? Like every time, every story, they go to Chick-fil-A. Okay, that must be your favorite restaurant, right? So there's always some truth into the made up stories. And again, I think I get more participation in an activity like that because it's errorless, but I learn so much and they refine access. So it's kind of win-win every way around, and it's super great for building more literacy skills. And I can model too, like if I'm doing a story, not necessarily Brownberg since it doesn't have components of a narrative, but if I'm doing a story, even like Silly Sally went to town. So it's like, at least there's I can say Silly Sally's a girl and I'm modeling that on the device and they're outside and how does she feel? She feels silly, which is kind of another word for happy, right? And so, you're kind of just modeling how that same vocabulary applies to almost every story you read. So that becomes really obvious that that vocabulary is important. But I have a blast with that. That's probably my favorite AAC activity.
And Brenda, so obviously you could do this with like direct lessons.
You don't have to watch her. I just have to go. And then what I do is I download.
Sorry, let me see if I can mute.
And then it's with it.
Yeah,
I
can do it if I stop too.
Oh, no.
You know how to do it? You got it.
Did I get it? Okay.
Someone did.
Oh, but you know what? I think did I mute everybody?
Maybe.
I didn't mean to.
I think people can still unmute themselves.
Okay.
Let me just see. Yeah, maybe you did.
Okay. Let me not do that.
Unmute all.
I think we were naturally muted before,
Okay.
but I couldn't unmute myself from this side. So.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry.
No, it's no problem.
That would have been good to know.
But it would be nice if we could mute ourselves from this side so that you didn't hear if we had kids come in the room.
I think you can. In the bottom left, don't you have a mute?
You do.
Yeah, I do, but it already had it on my name before, so. Gotcha.
So
Okay.
Unmute you. Okay, sorry about that. Thank you for telling us. So back to the storytelling idea, I was just thinking, so you could easily do this too with like your low tech eye gaze, and you could have those like girl, boy, whatever choices up.
Yeah.
And then do you want to share about how you did it with your student that was using the switches? I know it's better when you can just see the video, but.
So yeah, I did that through GoTalk. And so I just put him on two-step scanning. And so he's listening and he is going through, I say, who's in your story? And he's going through boy, girl, animal, boy. He clicks, it's a boy. And then we get through and I said, is there anyone else in their story? I usually try to have them have two characters in their story so that we can also play around on the social pages and create and do some dialogue there. But I tell you, when I get to the end and I'm writing my note and I'm checking their goals and all the vocabulary that we've touched on, all the functional words we've touched on, how many times he's scanned through and made a selection. There's a lot. You meet a lot of goals with the activity, and you have something done. You have something to show for it when you're done. So the other added piece I do that's literacy based is that I'm either on a high-tech board, I'm going into their Google Docs and typing as they'll tell me something, then I'll go in and I'll have a really large font in Google Docs, and so that they can see their verbal, their voice, their device output voice turned into text, not just in the message window, but like that's a new paragraph and things like that as I'm working with older children. And with some of the younger ones, I might even just write it on a whiteboard or write it on a piece of paper or type it on my phone and send it to their mom, because they like that their words turn into written work. And I think that's really powerful.
And if you can extend it too, and then like you could do some kind of drawing to go along with it the next time.
Yeah.
Some kind of art.
They had the motor skills for it.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to go with 90% of my caseload is alternative access. So I only have one.
But you could do
100% of my caseload is AAC, and I have one direct select user with it.
Maybe if they can see the pictures, they could do some choices.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And I have done that too, where I've gone onto YouTube and said, and I've actually gotten into that even more so lately, like with some of my older clients is what was their hair color, what was their eye color, again, and it goes back to being a really reliable reporter on people and things that happen to them and around them, and it's really, really powerful stuff.
And the reason, I just want to reiterate, so you were talking about GoTalk, because the free version of GoTalk, you can have 5 free
pages.
Yeah, thanks. 5 free pages. And the nice thing about that is you could use it for direct select, or you can use it for switches like Brenda was saying. And it also has that auditory preview. So if a student maybe can or can't, you don't know, but could see the symbols or the writing, you can have it say it as they're scanning. So it'll say happy, sick, scared, and then they click the one they want, and it.
Right, exactly. And you can print from your iPad, and you have a low-tech board with the exact same symbols. So it's really, GoTalk's pretty friendly that way.
Anybody using GoTalk?
I'm not seeing any comments on the yes on that, but it's so simple that we don't think about it as being a very robust system, and it isn't. But there are definitely nice applications for alternative access.
Sorry, I forgot I wasn't sharing again. I'm also going to put the link one more time in the chat in case anybody wants it and didn't get it before. Link to our Google Doc. Feel free to share it with anyone. And add ideas as you go. That's fine. We have just about 5 more minutes. So I think let's just wait a minute and see if there's any questions or if anybody has anything they want to share. Hopefully you're able to. Hopefully we haven't totally muted you out.
Brenda, did you say, this is Chris, did you say that there was a video of you modeling the storytelling?
I showed it in my webinar,
okay.
But it's not anywhere on that. But if you want,
Brenda, could you do a Tuesday tip on it, maybe?
The video is too long for that, for the Tuesday tip. So.
Oh, I mean, just to like do part of modeling or no pressure.
Yeah, no, I can do one. I'm trying to think if I don't know that I have done one yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Somehow I lost the view that I need, so I'm struggling, but I don't know what happened there.
What are you trying to do, Brenda?
Oh, I can hear you guys, but I can't really see you, and I'm not sure what oh, here it is.
Oh.
This opened. Okay. I thought about it. I just don't know how to do it succinctly enough, which is why I ended up doing a webinar on it. Did I record that webinar? I think I did. I think the recorded webinar might be your best bet.
Okay.
And I think it's just called storytelling in AAC.
Okay.
And it's the simplest strategy you'll ever learn in your whole life. And then you'll be like, I can't believe
I've never.
kind of, maybe. I feel like that's what a lot of people say when I'm talking or looking or doing. They say, why haven't I wonder why I've never done that. That's something that's so natural that you do with typical children.
Mhm.
And it can be done in a group setting too. I have a classroom here that I visit relatively frequently, and everyone in that class has a different AAC system, but they all have this vocabulary because it's pretty simple. And so they go around and it's almost like maybe something you and I would have done as kids, where it's like, once upon a time there was and Johnny chooses a boy, and then it's Susie's turn and she gets to pick where they are. And then the next kid gets to pick when it is, and it ends up being a group story that ends up on the smartboard or you know, in a large format. And they are making chapters, or they're making sometimes they're advancing, they're building on a story from before or whatever. So you can do it in a group, and it's fun, and it's usually silly.
Uh-huh.
But you can do it one-on-one and really refine. Yep, that's it. Using AAC to meet literacy goals in elementaries. Okay, so no, it wasn't called storytelling. But anyways, I think I had to make it sound smarter in order for anybody to come to it. But
I'll put a link to it in our notes.
Thank you. Okay.
Any other questions or ideas before we finish up? Because we didn't talk about favorite activities exactly, but we did talk about storytelling being the big one, using books, Chris mentioned. Some of the sensory ideas. I guess we don't need to talk about challenges because we know what they are. It's more fun to talk about what you do.
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges was that, teacher buy-in. So
Yeah.
we addressed some of that.
Yeah. If this is helpful and you want to do another one like this, we're thinking of kind of implementing another AT chatter that's kind of consistent, maybe in the fall, that kind of mirrors our book study, but then also offers ideas for opportunity for SLPs to talk about, their questions and concerns and things like that, problem solving. So if you think that'd be helpful, feel free to let us know. But then you might see that coming up in the fall.
Perfect. Brenda, this is Chris again. Where do you work?
Well, I'm a private practitioner and I live in Arizona.
Okay.
So I actually